What's going on, everyone? So, Scream 8, right? We all know by now that it has been greenlit. It is set to release next year, or not next year, the following year. Sorry, it's supposed to be a year turnaround in 2027. Scream 7, supposed to release. They're supposed to start filming as soon as like March, I believe. So this is supposed to be like, hey, here's Scream 7. Boom, we're jumping right into Scream 8. And so couple things that I want to talk about, right? Because there's just been a lot more kind of discussion, a lot more kind of Scream 8 information kind of coming out. Not like story plots and stuff like that, because we don't have any of that stuff. It's still in the development stage. But I do think that there are some things that we can kind of assess based on the fact that we have a Scream 8. And I kind of wanted to go over different potentials and possibilities and things like that, and just kind of have a discussion on like what we kind of think will be going on with Scream 8 and that kind of tie-in, because the fact that they essentially greenlit Scream 7 and 8 at the same time, right? So because of that, there are some things that I do think you inherently will get that will start to come to light in Scream 7. Obviously, we have to actually get to Scream 7 and see Scream 7, and and I'm sure that there will be, maybe some conclusiveness in Scream 7, but the fact that you got Scream 8 tells you that there are going to be things that just naturally bleed from Scream 7 into Scream 8, right? That no matter what, we are going, like, I don't think Scream 7 is going to be like its own kind of standalone conclusive film. I think it's going to set up things, that end up bleeding into and being continued into Scream 8. Right? Now, there could be a conclusive kind of ending, right? Like we could get kind of like, hey, here's these two Ghostface. We get the usual run-of-the-mill Scream film. Those two Ghostface meet their end. And then you end up kind of picking up with like the established story, right? Like at the end of Scream 7 or throughout Scream 7, they kind of lay the foundation to something that is brewing in Scream 8. I also think that there is the potential for that to be even bigger. And what I mean by that is like this is kind of like the Infinity War to the end game type thing, where this is like they establish and set up the more grander scheme, but you're not going to really get the grander movie until Scream 8. I also don't think that Scream 8's going to be it, right? The only reason I don't think that they released we got the green light for Scream 9 yet is because I just don't think they want to jump too far ahead, right? You want to see how Scream 7 does. You got Scream 8 working. You don't want to end up kind of putting yourself in a position where it's like, all right, now we're locked. Like we've seen with like The Exorcist and Exorcist Believer, The Strangers, like, you botched this. You can't really kind of rework this, so, and their plan is to kind of go bam, bam, right? It's kind of hard to go bam, 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 right? With 3 movies. You kind of want to see, how does Scream 7 do? Scream 7 does really well. Don't be shocked if Scream 9 ends up getting greenlit, and we get the news about it like almost immediately. I really do think that'll be the case. I think they're going to wait and see how does Scream 7 do, because if Scream 7 does really well, then that'll justify 8 and 9, right? But I think because of the fact that they immediately made the announcement for Scream 7 and 8, that leads me to believe that this is going to be a continued story one way or another. I would be shocked if Scream 7 is kind of its own movie and there's not a cliffhanger or, story that gets set up that bleeds over, or a Ghostface or something. Like, I don't know if we get like a full-fledged kind of traditional cliffhanger where this film basically ends and, Scream 8 picks up exactly where, like kind of, like I wouldn't be shocked if this goes like 18 into kills, right? Think about that. How basically Halloween 18 and Halloween Kills are just essentially one movie broken into 2 parts. I mean, like Kills literally picks up exactly where 18 left off. That is what I'm thinking will end up happening with this Scream. That they will essentially, Scream 8 will essentially pick up maybe the same night, maybe the same, moment. Like that there will be things that immediately happen, or the time won't be that far in between. Again, like this movie is going to come out a year later. So, could they do something where it is a year? But this movie is supposed to have a time jump. So it would make sense too that if this movie, kind of like Scream 2, had a 2-year time jump, if this has a time jump, right, by the time Scream 7 comes out, you'd probably be at the right timeline. Right? So now all of a sudden you're at the now it all kind of adds up and makes sense. Right? Because if you're in the year 2027 or whatever, right? Well, then this movie comes out 2026 and then 8 would come out in 2027. Then there you go. Now you're on the right time. You're on the right timeline. So I do think that is something like with the cliffhanger and stuff like that. I also think it's very likely we're probably going to get a lot of characters that survive and carry over. Right? Like there's like 20 characters in this Scream movie. And I don't think, could they, yeah, sure, have maybe like some crazy bloodbath where everybody dies, essentially. But then the problem is you have to reestablish all those new characters. Right? I think, and again, I don't know, it's just my thoughts. I think that there is good potential that we kind of get the Sydney story, the family story. I think that they're going to build up Tatum into being, the new final girl at some point, right? Whether it's this film or Scream 8. But I think what you'll end up seeing is kind of, 20 characters. You get maybe, I don't know, 8 deaths, something like that, right? Maybe like 6 deaths, like 6 significant deaths, 2 Ghostface deaths, and then you probably get, like maybe like the random, like the random janitor or cop or whatever that's just like laying there dead. I think you'll get like a handful of deaths. There'll be like 14 characters still alive, and we'll all be like, man, there's a lot of people left over. But it's because we know Scream 8 is coming. And I think it'll also make sense if especially they have kind of that cliffhanger moment, right? Or even if it's not a cliffhanger moment, like again, kind of that continuation, right? Where it's like, okay, here's Ghostface death. We go walk away and Ghostface, you just see alive, or another Ghostface pops out or whatever, right? Like, I just think if you have this film set up in I'm almost positive at this point that they're going to do something like that, where a lot of this, if not all of this film, is just going to be part 1 of part 2. Right? Like that Scream 8 will essentially be part 2 and a continuation of this. So we'll kind of get, like I mentioned, the Halloween ends into the Halloween kills type thing. Execution's everything. So depending on how they execute it, could make sense. But again, anyway, as always, as a discussion, pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Kind of mixed in the middle? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else will not. So we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.